Hello and welcome to Coach Talk, the show more interested in ideas and philosophy than facts and history. My guest this week is Samchaka, Solary legend who spent the last year working as a manager, but before that worked as well as an analyst and a coach across multiple different titles. We talked about the meta and how we as coaches can be a bit more creative. We talked about getting the most out of data and how you can convince players to put a little bit more faith in the data that you're collecting. And we also talked about the problems with the Fortnite World Cup. Now, if you enjoy this episode, please like, share, subscribe, follow, however you're listening. Really, really helps me out. And if you want to follow along with everything else that I'm doing, follow me on Twitter. If you want to join in the conversation and some of the discussions we're having around coaching, or even ask future guest questions, you can join my Discord. And if you'd like to explore mentoring or any of the other things that I'm doing, working with coaches in the scene, you can book a free introductory call with the Calendly link down below, where the Discord and the Twitter are too. And now, without further ado, Sam, what is coaching?
What is coaching? Coaching, it's a lot of things and it's a lot of nothing. I don't know if that makes sense. I would say that coaching is like a collaborative and goal-oriented process where a coach works with an individual or a group to facilitate their personal or professional development. Your primary aim as a coach should be to help the individual to identify first and then achieve their goal, of course. You try to make them overcome challenge and enhance their overall performance. And don't forget their satisfaction. I think it's something that somebody forget, a lot. Coaching, what is that? As a coach, I think you serve much more as a guide or a facilitator. You try to use a variety of technique, tools, and questioning maybe to help people to explore their thoughts, their belief, and their potential, of course. And to me, one of the key points should be that unlike mentoring or consulting, the coach should not be so directive. What I mean is that you should provide a solution. No, you should not provide solution or advice, but rather you want to support people in finding their own answers and strategy. uh, I think it's the first point I would say.
Yes.
But the thing is that I individually believe that I believe that the people have the capacity for grow and self-discover things, and the coach should just provide them a kind of how to say that structure environment to unlock and maximize their potential.
Mm. I can't remember where I actually heard this advice, but someone said that if teaching is you telling someone something, coaching is getting them to tell it back to you, which
Yeah.
I quite like. So going into a situation, whether it's a VOD review or something else, where you know the answer and you just ask the right questions so that they can give you that same answer.
Yeah, but sometimes it could be wrong, if you are much more technical coach, I would say,
Mm.
for example. Here you more on the process to make people understand something.
Mm.
But I truly believe that if the individuals just think it come from himself, it's so much stronger. And
Mm.
when the stress starts to come and the real life is here, it come from yourself. And even if it's somebody that tell you, if you believe that it's from yourself, I think it's for
Mm.
better.
Mm. Okay. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is that you've got the quite unique experience of seeing several different esports at the very top level and working with multiple different teams. So, what are some of the biggest differences in the esports that you've worked on in terms of coaching, their approach to practice, that kind of thing?
I don't see really a lot of differences, to be honest, because it's how you approach a thing. Of course, if you want to be a technical coach, you need to know the game, and of course, there is a lot of different thing. And here is the big change. But otherwise, yeah, the other thing is, do you coach a team or do you coach an individual? That's of course the biggest difference. I mean, but otherwise, I don't see a lot of different thing. Maybe you don't have the same tool because, of course, it depends of the game owner, I would say.
Mm.
But otherwise, no. In esport, I can't see a really big difference. Maybe the age of the player sometimes,
Hmm.
because when I
Hmm.
was working in Fortnite, players were way younger. So it was a big difference, but it's not because of the game; it's because of the people.
Okay. So I haven't ever been involved in competitive Fortnite. What's the average day of someone in competitive Fortnite? Do they have that same structure of practice matches? One of the things we have in esports a lot is we can't break down the game. So do they just play rounds together? Are there specific things that they look for or anything like that?
So it was a little bit particular for me because the player were streamers too, and not little streamers. You know, they were big streamers, so they have a lot of time to stream, and that was kind complicated, to be honest, because you have to handle the chat, and sometimes it's not really easy. That's the first point. But otherwise, what was really great in Fortnite is even if it doesn't exist at the early stage of the game, but in the second part of the game, they developed something that they call a kind of sandbox, you know, and you could just work on your mechanics a lot, and you can build some instance of the game and make people fight each other in certain circumstances and with how you say that. We could say, okay, we want to make a box fight. You can create a box fight. It's not like the same thing like League of Legends, for example, where you can't really divide the work. That's a good point that we had in Fortnite. But otherwise, it's kind the same schedule. I mean, the difference is that it's much more individual, even if there is some team competition. So you can adapt to everyone, or they want to schedule their life. It's the big difference. But otherwise, it just you work on your technique issue. You work on your technique strengths to try to go over the top, and then the other big difference was when I was in Fortnite, for example, there is I don't know, 4 5 tournament a week. So it's like crazy. You don't have the time to work. You're just working during tournament.
Mm.
That's the reality. And the time to review was a little bit how to say that you have less time because too many time of competition.
Mm. Were you involved in League of Legends when it was the what was it called in France? That open circuit where they did the tournaments
Yeah.
rather than a
Hmm.
league? How was
It
that?
was the ah. You mean the league you play online? That one?
Yeah, I wasn't involved at the time when we were in the UK was still a league based format like all
Hmm.
the regions are now. But I remember the French ERL was based doing tournaments like every few weeks
Yeah.
rather than a league.
And it was online. It was not even
Mm. Yeah.
online. It was in real life, and it was so cool. And I think it was the time I preferred League of Legends, but because there is a lot of things. I mean, when you play this type of tournament, you have to play against really pro level players, like me, for example. Iron gold guys, platinum guys, diamond, low master guys, and it was really interesting because there is some big team like sorry, for example, at this moment in the story were the big the big team, not in terms of level, but in terms of how people know you, famous, yes.
Mm.
And the thing is that the fan could play against their best player. It was kind of crazy and really cool because everybody was there. And the big difference is that it's really, really exhausting. Yeah, how you say that?
Exhausting.
People were, yeah, it was so exhausting because it's so much time. It's like 10, 12, 13 hours a day of competition, and sometimes you finish around midnight just because LAN, so technical issue. But it was so great, and you play on stage. It 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 was a war. Each month go to the LAN and know that you have 2 or 3 days of competition to do in the noisy space with a lot of people, with a lot of fan asking you for I don't know, photo, picture, this type of thing. Yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, really exhausting. I don't know if it can be still reliant in terms of level because you lose a lot of time and you lose a lot of energy. But to me, it's what a competition of esports should be.
Mm. And did you, I guess, how would you approach it from a coaching point of view differently than a league? What are the challenges from a tournament compared to a league? So you mentioned already tournaments incredibly exhausting. You've got to actually deal with the pressure, of course, of playing in a setup that's not familiar in front of people. That's very, very different already. But is there anything that's different in terms of the way you prepped, the number? I guess you need more champions, you need more um, flexibility, basically.
You need more champions. I'm not even sure because the thing is that you don't know which team you will have to play against. Maybe like 5, 10 minutes before, or yes, when the tree is here, in the final round, because you start on kind of league. You have to be first or second on the league, and then you go on the tree. And the thing is, you don't have a lot of time to prepare, and you don't have easy access to your data because player want to play, and you don't have a computer for the stuff. So it's quite different, and you can't really scout what people play each time, but people when you start to play at the same level of play. So it doesn't change that much. What changed a lot is, yes, you can't prepare for 1 week for one team, so you can't say, okay, I will have a different approach or a different strategy for each team. You often have your own strategy for yourself, and you play just for yourself. I would say that's the big difference. And then the difference you say, yeah, it's not you're not at your place, but the thing is that since it's something I've done before the league like we do now. uh, I can't say it's different, we did like that, and that's all, and then when you start to play in a studio, for example, when I was in Turkey, we played in the studio. People wanted to have a table and chair at the gaming house in the same shape than in the studio, this type of thing, and you start to say, hey, what the hell, guys? When I was playing in France, we don't even know if we don't have to play on the floor, you need to adapt. It was kind of crazy, and it's much more in this sense for me. It was, wow, okay, guys need a better setup. Okay, understand. And yeah, so that was the point.
Mm. Do you have a favorite tournament that you remember?
A favorite tournament in my whole career?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I think yes, the big stage. Wow, the big stage in your sport, for example, was kind of crazy. But Oh yeah, the final I made in Madrid for the final of the LVP second division. I don't remember how it was called at this time. It was kind of crazy. We played in a big arena, and it was quite fun. But I think it's with public, yeah. And so LFL days, of course, are really great. Yeah, with the public,
Mm.
definitely.
Mm. Okay. So, as well as coaching, you've worked for a number of years as a manager and done analyst work as well, which I would definitely want to get into. But that means you've been able to see lots of different coaches working. So, what do you think makes a good League of Legends coach?
League of Legends specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kinda hmm, it's kinda different, I think, than coaches in general. But in I would say League of Legends doesn't matter that much in reality. What is important for a coach to me is to listen people, to their player, to be to be near them. I mean, you need to have a proximity with them. You need to spend a lot of time to talk with them and listen how they approach the game, how they think the game, what kind of feeling they have with their teammate. You need to be able to smell if there is some problems between the player and be ready to solve them pretty quickly, or this type of thing. It's even more important when you are in remote because it's quite difficult to see it sometimes, and it's you have to do it when you are in the real life because otherwise it explodes at, uh, at so quickly. I mean, so that the first part to be able to listen to the player and to be humble enough to say no, I will not teach a grandmaster or challenger player how to play his lane. No, that's not true. Unless you are a technical coach, of course, that's another point. But when you are head coach, you have a lot of things to manage, and you're not specialized enough. I think most of us, I would say, to tell them, yeah, I will teach you how you play the game. This guy know how to play the game, even if they don't understand it, or they don't have the how to say that the it's in their DNA first. They play so much game that there is a lot of things that they do just by instinct, and you can't teach them this type of thing. So you need to be humble about that, and be ready to listen to them one more time, understand what is their point, and make sure that they play all together. You want to facilitate the work of the team. That's something. And the third point, whoa, uh, leadership. Yeah, of course, you need to have a really good leadership to make sure that people will follow follow your idea in the strategic part of the game, I think, because it's something that players don't really. I don't know. It's maybe only my experience, but to me, it was something that the player were not too focused on, and uh, and that's quite interesting that your part is just to make sure that you understand the strengths and the weakness of your team and be able to build a strategy that will fit them and fit against the opponent. And yeah, you need a lot of leadership to be able to do that and make them accept it.
Great. I think there's so many useful things there. One of the things I want to do with this podcast is to get people like yourself talking about this kind of thing so that people who are new to the scene can think what actually are my roles. Because I think there's a tendency in esports to think, okay, the head coach has to teach everyone how to play the game. And I've heard of people who are going to be the only coach on a team and they're going to be the head coach and they don't get a position because it's like you didn't know the details of top lane well enough or you're not challenger or something like that. And I think it's just good to get more information out there that while there is definitely a place for that and there's definitely a place for very technical coaches, there's so many things that go into competition, especially over 6 months or over a full year, that need to be sorted and managed and looked after.
Yeah, completely agree on that. And when you ask me about what is coaching, that was one of my answer. The thing is that the players, you want to talk with the players and to even just as a technical coach, positional coach. I think to me is quite the same thing. Even if you go 1v1 with them and you're way less stronger than them, the idea is to make them ask the good question. To wonder if it was a good point or they could have used more. But the thing is that they will find the answer and way quicker than you, 90% of the time. And sometimes we say, "Oh, have you think about it?" "Oh, yeah, 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 that's right." And the thing is that they already know. In reality, they already know, even if they don't know.
Mm, mm,
It's somewhere on their brain. You
mm,
just need to help him to find the way to make this seed grow and become a beautiful flower.
mm, mm. Yeah, there's so many things that players do based on intuition. I think I've told you this story before, but quite a while ago, but not all that long ago, there was a player in Korea. It might have even been Klid or someone like that, someone who at the time was very famous for their Lee Sin. And a game was delayed because in practice tool he reported a bug that his Q didn't do the same damage to the target dummy because he didn't realize that it was an execute as well. He just always knew, like intuitively from doing these combos 100 times, this is the order that I do it and it gets more success. He hadn't ever read the ability to see that it does more damage the lower health the enemy target is. So there was a big pause and then quite a
Crazy.
funny little breakdown. Um,
Oh yeah, well, patch note player don't read patch note that much, but the thing is that they play two game and it's like they have read it.
yeah, well, on the subject of patch notes and that kind of thing, you've also worked as an analyst for the last couple of years, like alongside other jobs as well. What do you think about our relationship to stats in League of Legends? Because it seems to me, and this I include myself in this, we're either over reliant on them, and you hear people, I don't know, I play this player, pick this player, or pick this champion just because they got good stats, or they're completely ignored, and it's like just no one ever. So the analysts. I mean, there were times when we were working together where there's like so much statistical data that we just weren't using. So, what do you think of our relationship? Is that, would you agree? Do you think we're actually getting better, or what do you think about how we use stats?
I need to be completely honest about that because I don't know how everybody work with data.
Mm,
And so that the first part. But to me, what was the data that I think were really interesting. I don't know if you knew this one is the more a player have played a competitive game, the less you need to play different champ to be able to put it in the first time on stage. That was something interesting because what you can say with that, for example, you say, okay, I have a young player and he doesn't have a lot of experience, so I mean, I will make him play his OTP champ. I have to. I have Feka in my team. No, we don't care. Play what you want, guy. That was, for example, data that is important and maybe a little bit forgotten by uh, not coaching, but the guy who make the draft. Sometimes they don't take enough this information, for example, in account. And yes, otherwise, there's a lot of things that you can do, for example, just to for build. I think it's something that you can do pretty easily, and there is a lot of people that can just tell you, okay, you take this, it will done this type of math, and the math win the game sometimes, at the same level of gameplay. But I think a lot of people do that. I it would break my head otherwise. About data, the thing that you can do is to when you analyze all team play, you can find some pattern in early game, for example. It's the most simplest. And we found a lot of level one just because of this type of information, for example. And I think there is a lot of people that do that. Maybe some don't really care at all, but it works for scouting players too. Even if it doesn't, it's never enough. But if you see that this guy in solo queue is always 10 CS ahead, that means you can't say that he's good on in lane, or maybe be careful, maybe he's not good on his back. This type of there's a lot of things, of course, but then you look at them, and the thing is that the data is just a tool, to just make sure that you ask yourself the good question, and sometimes just to make sure that the idea you had, it's you say, okay, mathematics tell me, okay, I was right. It can be interesting, but to be honest, I don't know if people make a good use of it or not. Uh, and when you play at the ERL level, maybe statistic, uh, you don't need that much statistic just because the players are not uh, evolved enough. I don't know if it's the good word, in terms of game knowledge and how to play together. And you have to work so much on your own capacity to work together that it's it's difficult to implement.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I like what you're saying about stats being a tool. I think the thing that I've always said to people and to organizations that have asked for, advice around this topic is that stats can tell you where to look, but they don't in isolation tell you who is good. Like if you're picking up a player, you can either look at stats or even better, have some sort of way that you're going to structure them. And that can maybe bring a player to the top that you wouldn't have otherwise thought of, or it can maybe show you someone that you didn't even know sort of existed. But that shouldn't be the end of the story. It shouldn't be right there
No,
at
sure.
the top of the list. So we take them.
But the thing that is difficult with the statistic is how you talk with it with the player, because there is a lot of player that just take what is interesting for them. If the statistic is good for this champion and they want to play this champion, of course the statistic is good. If they don't want to play this champion, but the statistic are really good, or statistic. For example, this season, I don't remember, but at one point there is Maokai, for example, he was like a 500 game. There was like 500 game of Maokai, 80% of presence in the draft, and 80% win rate. It starts to
It's
be a really big number. Maybe we should think about this champion. You don't want to play it? Okay, but you want to play against? And do we find a solution against the champion? And the player who will play against the champion will be, oh yeah, I can play this champion because I know he's really strong into it. And there's the other guys in the team. I don't want to play against this champion.
mm,
Yes, it's just a start of a discussion in reality. It should be a start of a discussion.
mm. So do you have any advice for people to try and get a better response from players? If you've found anything that's particularly useful, or I think one of the things that always makes it easier is that if you can have maybe some players who have a good relationship with statistics and who are happy um, exploring them a bit, and then suddenly if one of your players is saying, oh, watch out for this champion, or a big one for me was always you could quite often find in statistics champions who were going to be strong before everyone else
Yeah.
played them, because solo queue's a bit ahead and we could notice some things there. But then so often it's like, no, we don't play it. And then it gets picked in LPL or LCK, and then suddenly everyone's playing it now. So do you have any tips that you found useful to try and increase the chance that a player would be more receptive?
Oh, it's so complicated, to be honest. It depends of the player. So you can leave data, somewhere on their desk, write somewhere. I don't know. Sometimes it's better if they find it by themselves. So try a way to make them think that they found this thing. I don't know, but no, I don't have really good tip about that because I tried so many different things, and sometimes it works really well, and it depends. There is some players that were working around it really easy. But the thing is that you should be careful always. It's only numbers, it's only statistic, it's only a part of a start. To me, it's only a start of discussion, a start of, oh, maybe this will be something interesting. Maybe this can work. But you can't let them alone. You need to build around the number. Where is it played? How is it played? Which level? This type of thing.
Mm.
Because there is some champions in solo queue that always been really bad. For example, Izir, for example, often it's a really bad win rate in solo queue, but once it's going competitive, the champion is completely broken, and you need to take this into account. But at the end, you know it. You just compare year over year, and you know that this champ is specific to the solo queue or is specific to the competitive scene. Yes, it's no, just spent a lot of time in it and try to be smart with it. I don't
Mm.
know,
Mm.
experience.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is that it's just the same with a lot of things in coaching. If you bring a certain statistic or a certain champion or a certain read on either the meta or an opponent and it's successful, then the next time will be a little bit easier. And if that's successful, then it'll be, easier. So for anyone listening to this, I would say start with the ones you're most confident about. Don't start with ones that are a bit out there or a bit different. I think one of the things that was really great, just thinking about again our time together, was when a champion comes back into the meta and hasn't been there for 2 years or something, to just know what they were like statistically 2 years ago, I think is really useful. Even if the champion has changed and maybe it's a full rework that brings them in, like Syndra comes back, okay, what type of champions worked against Syndra before? And can we think about why? Again, thinking of stats as a starting point, can we think about why? And then can we think about some champions that can do that same thing early on? And then you might realize, I don't know, they really struggle against range or they really struggle against push or whatever it might be.
Yeah, great. It's not really a coaching thing to me. It's just LOL related, League of Legends related. It's just that the champ is an archetype. First of all, to me, a champ is an archetype, and then what type of archetype go well with this one or against which type of archetype. And if you see this like that, then you can have champ that can be substitute just because they have the same type of archetype, and but they are not doing it in the same way. But at the end, they have the same purpose in the game. Uh, yes. But to me, it's not that much coach related. It's much more analytic thing.
Mm, okay. And
And then you're right. It's all you all you bring it at the table, and you make it understand by the player. And to be completely honest, I don't know. It's really depends of the player. It depends of the dynamic of the team. It depends of all people players like the champ because of course, professional players should be able to play the champ that are meta, etc. But in reality, when you just think about yourself or you like to do your job, maybe if you take pleasure to play it, it's better. So maybe this champ is a little bit less stronger, but in his head and in his mind and in his heart, he's so stronger. Uh,
mm,
that, that that's a point of view that is not shared by everyone, I think. And to me, it's maybe one of the biggest mistakes is all staff are not confident about bringing new things and fearing to not do like everybody because if you don't do like everybody and you fail, ah. And this year, for example, I was so fucking proud that we played Poppy into the Yasuo mid, Hey, what the hell? And we played the Jhin first game as a support. Hey, and it was cool.
mm. Do you think people don't do that enough then? They don't try new things?
Yeah, sure. There is a lot of player that would like to, and there is a lot of people who say, yeah, it's not because your player want to that we should. It's not because you're good at doing this in solo queue that we should. No one is doing that. You know, it's something you hear a lot of time. No one is doing that anywhere. Why we should do that? And I mean, if everybody think like that, funnel will have never exist. Jana top lane will have never exist. You know, all this type of weird but really strong strategy would have been used. So it's kind of not stupid because I can understand. You know, you are under pressure. You know that nobody want to do that. You don't have that much time to train. We need to be honest. And when you go in. Or you say that I don't remember a scream, and you start to play some weird thing like that. Sometimes the opponent don't want to play the game, or the game doesn't go well, so that means it's bad, you know. And we take decision and we not decision, but assumption way too fast.
Mm.
And the thing is that the staff do this to me. A lot of people in staff do exactly the same mistake, but it's quite understandable because we don't have so much time, and we need to be sure of us. You know, if you believe on it way, you have a strong mind on that. You know, yeah, it could work. And if the players take the fun together, that's the point too. You know, if they take the fun together to play this type of weird comp, yeah, it will work. But if for them they don't understand what the meaning of the comp, you know, it start to be complicated. And once you change one thing, it
Mm.
change a lot of things all over the map, and that's why it's not easy, I think.
Mm.
But yeah, we we are reluctant to change, I think, too much.
Yeah, yeah. I'd always thought of it more as well. Personally, I'm always interested in trying the new thing and
I
trying to
know.
find something something different. But I always thought of it as like um, almost unfair because from a coach's point of view, yes, there's a risk, but if we try weird things and they work, quite often the coach gets credit. Whereas if you try like strange things and they don't, then it could go bad. But how do you think we could get better at that and get better at not being because everyone really does, especially in ERLs, they really do just copy the next level up. But something that I've always believed is okay, but why should the LEC or the LCK why should they have a better understanding of the meta than us? If they play the same amount of scrims as us, for example, or yes, they're going to play against different levels of competition, but there's no real reason that it's not like to be good at the game you need to be able to come up with new things. So how do you think we might be able to get better at that?
Well, the easy answer would be to say, you know, you need to accept the failure, and this thing is real everywhere, to be honest. But the thing is that when you are doing this during the competitive season, it's easy to say, you know, but to put it in practice is so hard because you don't you can't fail. That's a real problem, and I don't know if it's something that you can solve unless you don't really care. Your owner don't really care. They just want you to make the good League of Legends and just to not forget that yes, you are a competitor, but at the end, we are just people that are producing entertainment for other people, you know. So if maybe we could have this mindset a little bit,
Mm, mm,
but let's be honest, there is too much to yeah, money, sponsorship, etc.
mm,
Is it really in your head? I don't know. I don't know. In the real life, I would say there is no problem with that. You need to accept the failure. It's a part of you of how you can grow. Of course, you learn from that. You learn from being on the floor and get up. You know. But once you are in competitive, it's way more complicated. Way
mm,
way more complicated.
mm.
And the highest you go, I don't even know if it's worth at the end. Maybe in LEC you can because you don't lose that much to lose, you know. No,
True,
I'm not
true.
sure it's really true, but
I mean, especially with this format, maybe
yeah,
the whatever they call it. I was about to call it the group stage, but I think it's not called the first part where you only need to be top 8. Is that the
yeah,
time where people can sort of try things out? Um, one of the other things that I've been thinking actually only over the last couple of years, being able to take a step back from coaching people teams directly, is actually touching on something you said earlier, where people don't take into account archetypes or themes or specific strategies enough, maybe, because that can give you a better way in. It's not, I really want to play Swain here, for example, but it works in the matchup and it's exactly what we need for that one strategy. And it's something that G2, I think, did unbelievably well this year. So if we take the Lissandra, for example, they had Lissandra as a counter to Rakan. But when they first pulled out the Lissandra, they played it with like full dive comp and they'd already picked a full dive comp. They weren't playing like really long range and then they 4-5 Lissandra because it's good in the matchup. It's like, no, they were already all going to jump on someone and all press R. And so
yeah.
having a champion that can do that and then suddenly,
Quite simple.
yeah. I mean, but it's not, I put my hand up and say, this is not something that I've done in the past. I've, when I've managed to integrate or when I have tried to integrate new champions, it has been more based on they're good in this matchup. The player comes to me and says, this champion is so good in this matchup. And then there's an opportunity to pick it. So I get excited and I kind of try. But then, like you said before, if you do that in a scrim and it doesn't work, it could not work because of the other 4 champions that you've got. But people still
Right.
blame it on the new champion because it's the one that they're
Mm.
not familiar with.
But I think it's a process of work, or you implement thing, and the team need to, all the individuals need to understand that we will fail, we will have, we will make mistake, we will discover incredible thing, of course. It can go both sides, and you need to be prepared in that, and you need to make in your head that it's not a waste of time. And it's not that easy, but once you have succeeded to put this kind of process in your team, it works very well. I had with Bursaspor, it was when I was with oh Milika, Elam, Ragnar, Stefan, Nikolic, and what was and I don't remember the last one. Oh, it's not good. It will come back. The thing is that they don't give a they don't they don't care. They play everything, they tried everything, and we take a lot of good time to try new thing, and it was in your process, so it was quite easy. And there is other team that it was like impossible, and here we have as a coach to be able to just try to get some backup from, or maybe your players, maybe yourself, and say where we could have changed things. And for example, when we worked together, it was a kind of problem. It was difficult
Mm,
for us to make this type of
mm,
changement. And I was, if I remember properly, the one saying, "Hey guys, don't forget how you build around this new champ. Why
mm,
you want to do that?" And I failed to make it
mm.
work. So it's,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why the first thing I did when I took my year of doing the mentoring is whenever there was spare time, I was re-looking at the decisions I've made, and that's one of the first big things. Is that so much of the time it was enjoying the fact that some of the players were incredibly flexible and can play loads of things without taking into account. Okay, it might be okay for me to play the champion, lose on it, and learn, but is it okay for the team to see this champion not be useful? And if so, can we change that in a way where we can give it the best chance of being successful because of what was built around it? And I think what you're saying there about having a culture where we're trying to find out new things and we're being brave about it and we're on that sort of razor's edge of high performance where it could go horribly wrong, but it could go absolutely amazingly. If you can get that, it's incredibly exciting. But I think, to be honest, it's so rare. I don't think I've worked with a single team in esports that I would say is really comfortable with mistakes, especially mistakes in scrims, because that's one of the other downsides is that you're against other players and players that you know and players that realistically you might work with in the future, and you don't want to do something weird and bad. And I have had that as feedback where we're considering a new player and it's like, oh no, but in scrims they always play badly or they play weird stuff. So it does actually matter. And so it's not like just doing a drill where you can try things out and experiment, because there's so much more kind of pressure on top.
Yeah, and if you look, it's like G2, the team that don't be a player that are not scared to do, I would say, nonsense. It's because everybody want to play against them, you know. So they will not have a problem to find another team. They will not have problem to find another way to play the game at the highest level. So they don't care. So they can easy. When you play, when you are a team and you want to play against a LEC team, you don't want to try anything. You want to play your OTP to make sure that you don't get destroyed and they don't want to play with you one more time, you know? And it's a really bad mindset, I think, even if it's completely understandable. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we could do with making a bigger distinction between like exploratory practice and execution practice. So practice where we're playing, you know, what we're going to play tomorrow or what we're really good at, versus practice where we're trying to find out new things. But even that's really hard because you don't want to go too far. If you play two new champions together and the whole thing falls apart, you know, it could be because of nothing else. It could be because of the combo, all that kind of thing. I think another good point in terms of what G2 did this year is I remember Romain on a podcast saying the humility was really helpful this year, like being humble enough, where in the past, he used the example of BB, so I'm just going to do the same thing. This year, you know, Adam's playing Olaf or whatever it was and just crushing everybody. And in the past, BB might have said, oh, it's just Adam, it's just an OTP. Whereas here it's like, actually, no, there was something there. So he started playing it. And then he plays against Finn, and Finn plays Kled because Finn used to be a Kled OTP. And rather than saying, oh, it's just Finn, you know, he's like, okay, maybe there's something there too. So he started trying it, and then they integrate that. So there is, people have to get beyond this tendency of just brushing stuff aside, because it's so easy to brush stuff aside. Oh, it's just them. Oh, I just made one mistake early on. The champion is useless, but I just misplayed this one bit and then it destroyed me or whatever. And I think that's very difficult as well.
Yeah, but as you said, they have to build this culture in their team, and it takes a lot of time. And yes, if you have the same group of people for a lot of time, it's way easier. And that was way easier for us, you know, the at the end of the second season, because we start to agree each other on trying a lot of things. But it took time, and yes, you need time first. And maybe people in general need to be a little bit more open-minded, and maybe as a staff we need to be more precise on how we want to set up this platform. And I think it's something that is not easy anyway, but it's something that you need to schedule. You need to, I mean, when I say to schedule, it's on purpose. I mean, you need to say, okay, I need to build my culture. I need how much time? I don't know. It's something that you need to talk, and that really dependent or yeah, you depend on the player too. But it's how you will put it in the discussion, I think. And yeah.
And it's difficult because you want to do it at the beginning, but people, I find, especially players, really want to get to scrimming as soon as possible. And it's always a bit of a, not a battle, that's the wrong word, but there's tension there where, okay, we're going to give up some time of practicing the game to do this thing around culture. But like you said, there's actually really limited time when you're in a competitive season, and every week you're preparing for the new team. And if you're in a league like the LFL, every game really matters, and you could finish the season with 1 or 2 wins. I think actually one of our seasons we missed out on playoffs, but we were 2 wins away from E-Masters, like guaranteed E-Masters. Like, it's unbelievably competitive for a 10-person league. So, every hour feels important. And so saying, right, we're not going to actually practice today, we're going to do something else, I think you have to be quite brave as a coach to suggest it, and as an organization to kind of back it up.
Yeah, and I think the relationship between the organization and I would say the owner of the organization, or the manager, if there is a manager, and the players and the staff, if the organization is already starting the season by telling you, okay, guys, just give us some entertainment. Yeah, it's less stressful, because I saw some organization that telling, oh, you're a product, and no, you're just here to, yeah. Yeah, it starts from there. But the thing is that as a head coach, anyway, you should be the shield of your team, and you should be the guy who will tank and make the decision. And at the end, yeah, it's kind of a battle, but you should not battle with your player. Battle with your organization is something else, but with your player, you should not. Yeah, maybe it's a journey to try.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good point. Do you think, you mentioned at the end, battle with your organization? I'm trying to think of how to exactly phrase this question. What do you think is a good relationship between an organization and the coach and the team? Because we see such varied things. I mean, we've seen even in this off season stuff like the Mad Lions thing, which seemed to be sudden massive change in direction. But then previously they were always the team that I would point to say that's a great way for it to work. You do, and I do think you're right what you're saying at the end there, where you do need to, the organization should challenge the coach, and vice versa probably, because I don't think it's a good relationship if they're just quietly following each other. So is there something that you think would be the most kind of productive?
The transparency. To me, it's all about that. It's transparency. How you say that? When you believe on people.
Trust.
Trust. Yes, trust. And yes, it should be that. Transparency, trust. If you have these 2 components in your organization, in your team, in between everybody, you start on good rate, and after you after it's just managing people, so it's spending time with them, listening to people, see what is their problem, because we don't have the same kind of pressure. The organization will have money pressure, of course, for themselves, and so there is some time transmitted to you. But if if there is some transparency, you can understand that, and you will be willing to make some consensus way more easier, or you just understand why they say that, or you understand why they can't provide you that, and in the other side, you need to be to put some transparency to say, yeah, I have the problem with this player, I have the problem with this thing in the organization, but we need. If you have this transparency, a good communication, and nothing done in the back of people, you start great. And then
yeah, I think good communication is really helpful as well to kind of improve that transparency. And it's something that I've, again, done really badly in the past. This has become a podcast of me just talking about all my mistakes, but what we would call managing upwards. So building that relationship between the coach and the organization, because what ends up happening is that because the organization has this money pressure, they do suddenly change direction, and if they're far away from the team because of something that I've done as the coach, then of course they're not going to make the best decision because I haven't given them all the information. So it's actually like on you as a coach, I think, to include the organization and to work with them as much as possible. And it's something that I've not done enough for sure. Because
Not sure, but I'm not sure
yeah,
about that. I would say maybe not the coach. At least in League of Legends, I would not say the same thing in other situation. But the manager should have
mm, mm,
this thing to do. And to me, the manager is the guy who should facilitate the life of the head coach and the players, of course.
mm,
Uh, and it's between them, the head coach and the manager. It should be really clear and really the transparency should be there. If it is, and the manager plays part and the coach plays part, then it's his job as a manager to have a good talk with the organization and to make sure the thing happen well.
mm. Okay.
I'm not sure it's unless you have a kind of really big head coach, who want to take this part too. Why not? Why not?
Mm, mm.
But yeah, to my mind, if the head coach is like a manager, of course.
Yeah,
But if you
yeah.
have a manager,
Okay.
somebody who is
Yeah.
dedicated in this part, I think
Mm. So
he should
just
do that.
someone from the staff team,
Yeah,
to basically we want the team and the organization to be a bit closer than they
yeah,
often are. And I think, of course, there's things that organizations can do, but the reason that I like to think about it like this is that if I think back, from all the years, especially a long time ago, but even now, coaches quite often either give the impression or they literally say that they want to be left alone. And they want to, like, we're gradually teaching people that we want to be given space and we want to just be like, the owner doesn't know what's going on and I don't tell them, and that's fine. But I think it ends up just being worse for everybody if you don't have that transparency and you don't have that trust and that communication. Because, like you said, the pressures are very different and the decisions can therefore be quite different. And so it's something that we can all, well, I can definitely work on and would work on in the future as well.
yeah. But the feedback is really important, and the feedback in both sides is always a really important thing you have to do. And with the player first, the guys who you work with, you need to have a regular feedback from them, to just make sure that they have a good way of life in their work, they have a good mindset in what they need to do, what they should do, what they can do, what their mate can do, what you can do for them, this type of thing. And it's the same thing for me with the organization. But it's a lot of time, and that's why I don't think it should be the head coach, unless if it's a managerial head coach, okay. But it should be the manager time,
Mm,
to waste his time to waste. Because it's something often people think that talking is a waste of time. That drive me crazy, this type of thing. Oh no, we are wasting some. No, 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 we are not wasting some time. We are just trying to solve problem,
mm, mm,
and to make sure to go to do the same and good direction for everybody.
mm.
And yeah,
Okay. So, as well as being the person who is the bridge between the organization and the team, what else do you think that the role of what should the manager do? Like, what's the role of a manager? Because I think it's something maybe more than any other position in esports that's very varied with the amount of things that people do. And especially when some people are doing it in person, some people are doing it in a gaming house, some people are doing it in offices, some people are doing it online. So, what do you think of the role of a manager?
facilitate the life of the team and the staff, but in lot of different thing. I mean, I should provide the example, but If we have to travel, everything should be managed by the manager and make sure that I don't know, I would say the taxi will be there on time to be sure that you will be at the station, and at the station you're already there and you know everything, what happened. Sorry, you know where thing will happen, you know when thing will happen. For example, you need to make sure that I don't know, if you have a gaming house, that the food is good, is at the right time, that everything is clean. If there is some trash, that it's done. All these little things that make the life easier. But in the same way, you can. And it's much more how I like to work, and you know it. I like to make sure that people are by themselves. What the word? Um,
Autonomous. Yeah.
Autonomous, yes. I like to try to build that around players, to make them grow as a people and a human being, and make them understand that just because they do this little thing, it will help everybody to do that. So either you do it, you are the tidy guy.
Mm.
Either you make it understand that yeah, try to make sure that things are not dirty for the guy who will come after. uh, but yes, that should be his primary job,
Mm.
to make sure that everything is easy, and you just have to think about the game and think about yourself.
Mm.
Yes, but I like to be a little bit educational in this part, but
Mm. Yeah, I think one of the things that I started doing when the first time when I was in a gaming house, I started after a while implementing this rule, which was really helpful, which is that if someone came to me with a problem, my first question was always, "What have you done to solve it?" And then even if I knew the answer, I wouldn't tell them if they hadn't tried anything. So it's like they came to me and says, "Oh, the my screen is broken," and it's like, "Okay, what have you done to solve it?" It's like they haven't even tried turning it off and on. They haven't tried a different cable, anything like that. So it's just like, okay, well, I'm just not going to help. Or even, how do I use the dishwasher? It's like, have you Googled it? Have you thought about it? It's like, no, I just came straight to you. Then you can just say, right, well, um, to try and balance that like autonomy,
yeah,
and because it sounds silly in a way, but when the game starts, I can't help anymore. So you have to build up. You can't be doing everything. You can't be. That's the same as when you get into a VOD review. If I'm just going to tell them how we should have played, or I'm not in the
no.
game, so
No, of course, they need to be able to do this type of thing alone. Just because, as you say, once they are on stage, they are alone. So if they have any kind of problem during the game, oh, we need to fight with this comp against this comp. If they are not able to do it by themselves, yeah,
mm,
it's loose.
mm,
It's loose.
yeah. And I mean, sometimes the thing that comes to mind was in one of the LFL days where one of the very first ones we were playing against LDLC, and there was an hour or something of pauses, and they still didn't let us on the stage. So it wasn't even just during the game, but during the
Yeah.
pause. And I mean, thank God we had Pierre and Joko who, you know, managed to deal with the situation very, very well and kind of lead everyone through it. But it's just, as soon as it starts, it's out of your hands, and you have to just see what happens. So it's quite an
Mm.
interesting problem as a coach. So one of the
Can
things,
can you imagine?
yeah.
Can you imagine in the World Championship of Fortnite, I was not even allowed to see the player between games.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. What you have to do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We didn't knew, but I don't know. I had a kind of feeling, during the how you say that, the tournament to qualify, during the qualifier. I had the feeling that something would be quite strange during the final, and I said, okay, guy, you need to be autonomous, otherwise we will have some problems.
Okay. So what you when like They
I
just
was
kept you
watching.
out.
That's all.
You were just watching. You're just
No,
enjoying it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and their phone were they don't have the phone on the stage, and the thing is that they can't leave the stage, even if there are 5 or 10 minute break, they have to stay on the stage. So
Mm.
I was completely useless,
Okay. Okay.
and yeah, it was quite disturbing to be honest. But the thing is that I prepared them for that because I don't know, it's quite a feeling I had, and I don't know why, but
Mm.
it was a good one.
Okay. Before we get to the quickfire questions, I'd love to talk a little bit about the work that you did outside of esports
Hmm.
with young people.
Which one?
You worked with young people at
Yeah.
one point. Do you mind just telling everyone a little bit about that? Because for people listening, and then just talking about it.
Okay, so I was in charge in a town to the. Wow, I told you that the vocabulary in this type of thing is not my best.
That's okay.
In the social work for young people, and not only social but holidays too. Okay, and so I had to build the. Oh, you say that? Wow, it's so complicated to me to explain this type of thing. Yes, I was director of center. We just make people, young people come in the center, and you have them in charge before and after the school during the year, and during holidays, it was just to have them and make them have some great holidays. And so I was the director of this structure. And what can I explain about that? It's kind of different works because there is a big educational part of it in that. Even if I put it everywhere, to be honest. But here it's something that is mandatory, I would say. So you have your tone that have a political, an educational political, and you need to build a project around this political. And then with the staff of educators, you need to build a pedagogic project too. Uh, that mean what kind of thing you want to to implement in your group life, for example, and then you want to build some schedule for what you will do and or you will do activity with them. Uh, it's not easy to explain in English. What the hell?
It's good. It's good. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to ask, aside from the fact that it's just interesting, is
Yeah.
in esports, we as coaches often come from incredibly different backgrounds and people are interested in incredibly different things. And something that I always tell the people I work with one on one is to draw on the experiences that you've had to get you there, because it's going to be very different. And you'll find, I don't know, the classic one is people who are very into chess. They find analogies between chess and League of Legends, or people who come from a sport background who maybe experience some of that pressure, or people who come from a teaching background. So, is there things that you learnt doing this that you have brought into your coaching and brought into esports? And
No one teach me how to be a coach. I learned to manage people, I would say, and to build some project type of thing, but not trait management, coaching. Sorry, and to me, the coaching is just the same kind of thing, to be completely honest, but it's much more maybe a philosophical thing, or you want to interact with people, or you want to work with them, or you want to make them grow, all this type of thing, and something that I build in for myself, most of the time, I would say. And of course, there is 90% of what am I as a coach come from this. I have some mentor who explain me, or to make sure that as a director you drive your team, your educative team well, to make sure that they put the work for the children in the way that we want them to go, uh, because it's you want to educate people, but you want to make them have some fun. You're here for their entertaining, but not only that. For example, I could just grab a group of young people and put them in a cinema. Yes, but we don't want to do that like this. We will go to the cinema. We will talk about the movies. We will have some backup. We will maybe make sure that they will buy their ticket by themselves. I don't know. You can build up this thing in many ways. Just the idea is, or you build the adult, the educators, or you make sure that they work well together in the same line. And of course, we are dependent of the politic of the organization. Here for me it was a town, so you have their politic, what they want us to bring to the young people. It's I don't know. I feel like it's really abstract.
No, I think it's good, and I think it's really good for people to hear like the the different experiences that we've all had that can end up being kind of useful in the same way.
And so when I work as a coach, most of the time I go to the manager or the guy I work with and say, okay, what are your what is your see of the life? How you see the life? What kind of picture of yourself? How you say that? The face you,
Vision,
or you
yeah.
want people to see you? Or you? Oh, I can say that
What
just for
how
my
how you
interaction.
want people to see you, um,
Yeah, for an organization, what are your valor, maybe
values.
values? Yes. What are the value of your organization? And because it's something that I need to work with. To me, it's really
Mm,
important, because it's how I will build my interaction with the coaches, the staff when I'm manager, or when I am coach. It will be oh, I will have to interact with journalists, with my players, with the other manager of other team, because I'm wearing this, so I need to be in the same way than them. And often I choose to work with people which with people that I share this type of idea. Otherwise, if you don't have the same idea, if you don't have the same value, it's it's it can work, of course, but to me, it doesn't make any sense,
mm,
because it's a work where you share with people, where you interact with them, when you can't not be yourself.
mm, mm.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to end with the quickfire questions, and I'm asking everyone the exact same questions. So just out of
Okay,
interest for
just
me, yeah.
okay, just to make sure, quick fire. That mean I need to be quick to answer, or no?
Not
Okay, okay,
not really. I mean,
okay.
it doesn't matter. Anything.
Okay,
There
okay.
are shorter questions. They have a more defined answer, I guess.
Let's go.
So, who are the coaches that you look up to or idolize, either in esports or out of esports?
To be honest, I don't have. To me, the only coach, but it was not even a coach, was three of my mentor when I was between 14 and 18, and these people show me what was to talk with people, to make things happen with people. Maybe my parents too.
Okay. What's the biggest hardship you've ever experienced as a coach?
Uh, the championship, the world championship of Fortnite, where you're there but you're not there.
Mm,
It's quite the thing. It was so, I don't know to explain that. You can't talk to your player between game, man. I don't know if you can realize what the it was. it was awful to me. But otherwise, yeah, the first time I start in League of Legends, people come to me just because they were not able to make the players talk to each other without fighting, you know. And the first day, the first hour was quite strange, I would say. But it was quite easy at the end because they were quite young, and I was used to take care of young people, so it was quite easy. But the first minute was really strange because just insulting each other. I don't know why I'm here. They don't even give a shit why I'm here. It was strange.
Okay. And what's your top highlight as a coach?
Top highlight as a coach. Oh, I loved work with Bursa Sport, because it was how to explain that? I was not allowed to make the draft because I was not registered on the GCD, you know. So I had to coach kind of manager that has low knowledge of the game, and he was not really able to understand the strengths and the weakness of the team. And at the same time, I was the coach each day of the team. So it was quite challenging, you know, to make them understand. Okay, guys, we need to take 1 hour or two to talk about the draft that we will do without me. And the draft, sorry, will be driven by you, but I don't want you to take any kind of decision. The only decision you have to do, if they hesitate between multiple champs, you need to take the decision, because you need to take this responsibility and grab it over the player, you know. So it was really challenging, really complicated, and but it was really great. It was a really, really good time.
What are three non negotiable behaviors that people around you need to buy into?
Okay, you are talking about specific people.
People on the team, with the staff, people who work
Res-
closely with you.
Respect. Uh, yes, respect, transparency. Ah, I don't know then, because I like people, you know, to be not oh, you know, like a
Mm,
line. I need
mm.
people to be a little bit like that, because you can grab thing and you can start to talk with them and have good exchange. I like the fight, you know. I like the fight because it's how you learn about people, and you learn about yourself, because people act like mirror when you fight. Mirror from themselves, sometimes we mirror for you too. It's really, really cool. I like it, if it's done, you know, in a proper way, of course. I would say honesty.
Mm, great. Um, okay, last question then. If you from today could give yourself one piece of advice when you started your esports journey, what would that advice be?
uh, don't go to his spot. No. That was the first thing that came to me, but it was just a joke. No. Oh, wow. Take care of yourself more. Yeah,
Mm,
because the thing is that the social work was really hard, you know, in your head, because when you come back home, the works never finish, you know, because you are thinking of this child that has this type of problem, that has to come back in his family. You don't know what happened in his family, but you know that there is a really bad thing that happened to him. You know that you maybe during the week you will not see him. It's it's uh, it's really heavy, you know, and it's kind of same thing in the sport, but oh, you said that the problems are absolutely not the same. You know, it's oh yeah, this player, yeah, he feel bad because he played bad. Okay, it's not easy to handle, you know, but so but it's stronger than me, you know. I have to be there every day, at any time, to be available for the player if they need to, or my staff. I like that, and I don't make enough break, and but I don't know if in human work you can do that, you know. Uh, when the when you work for just an appliance or an object, you do the object, finished, game over, But when the object of your work is people, to me it's difficult,
Mm,
But and I think it's something that I learned from you, is to be able sometimes to
mm,
step back a little bit and chill more.
mm. Yeah. I mean, Duke said the same thing. His one piece of advice, and I think it's something we should all uh, take into consideration as much as possible, is that we've got to look after ourselves as well, because that then helps you to look after the people around you much better. And
Sure.
all the worst interactions that I've had with people, all the times where I've said something that I've really regretted, or I've made a complete mistake and later on realized that, okay, we weren't actually fighting about this, we were fighting about something completely different. How did I not realize? It's always when I hadn't been taking care of myself enough to be at the level where you can see that stuff. So I think it comes back around, but it's good for everyone to just keep in mind always to also take care of yourself. Great. I think that's a really good note to end on. So thank you very, very much. Great conversation as
Thank you, John.
always.
Yeah,
And
it's good.
yeah, thanks everyone for watching.